the Poison Dart channel YouTubers. If you've watched any of my previous videos, I appreciate you watching. If you like, subscribe or share, I also appreciate that very much. In the first video about the Poison Dart, I mentioned something about all of the parts that came with the car and some that I wasn't going to really get into just because I didn't plan on using them on the car or for the build or whatever. And my second video, I kind of went through the aluminum W2 heads that are on this motor, and I didn't have much information, so and I didn't have them in the first video to show you for any informational purposes. So this video is nothing to do with the small block, really nothing to do with the Dart in and of itself, just obscure parts. Back in the day, I heard, that with the 64, I always was a fan of the AFX cars and the nostalgia old super stock 62 through 5 V bodies. I just always loved those cars. And the Ram Chargers back in the day ran magnesium stainless 60s with the bolt-on axle tubes. And of course, never seen one, let alone put your hands on one. They had to have been fairly obscure parts. And when I bought this Dart, it came with a 8 3/4 center section, an extra 8 3/4 center section, and I was told it was aluminum. And when I went to pick the car up and we were loading parts up, and I grabbed it, I quickly realized that it was not aluminum. And it is fairly obscure to me. And first off is, show me an 8 3/4 you can pick up with one finger. This one you can. This is a magnesium 8 3/4 center section for a Mopar. Most likely it came out of a front engine dragster back in the 60s. Maybe it wasn't. It has the pinion snubber pad, but there's no holes drilled in it. So more than likely back in the day, it wasn't in a car, a body car like a 62 through 5 B-body super stock car or AFX car or anything like that. Or it probably would have had the pinion snubber attached to it. It at least would have been drilled and tapped for that if they were going to use it for that in a leaf spring application. And this is not drilled for that. So I was doing a little research trying to figure out what this situation was here going on. And the time, the Chrysler 727 transmission was the strongest automatic you could get. Most of them were push button 727s. And B&M started making clutch flights, which I don't know if you're aware of what they are, but basically they whacked the bell housing off of a 727 transmission, and they made a plate that would bolt to the front of the pump in the front of the transmission case, and they would put a manual transmission input shaft with a drive to dog up to the pump, drive the pump, and then you could bolt on whatever bell housing you wanted. So if you were running a big block Chevy and you wanted a 727 Chrysler transmission, but then you also wanted the ability to do away with the torque converter, because torque converter technology was basically in its infancy back then. So the next best thing is to put a clutch in it and be able to just rev the car to whatever RPM you wanted to leave and step off the clutch, and then shift the car with the push buttons like normal, like a regular automatic. It would shift just like a regular automatic. And in doing so, when they modified those transmissions, the tail shaft housing, they would whack the tail shaft housing off and weld a ring to the tail shaft housing, which then correspondingly bolted to this, and then it would have a splined hub that would be direct drive. There would be no universal joint, just direct drive right to the pinion of this center section. So you had the transmission, bell housing, and the rear center section, or in the rear end, and you know, you're talking, the transmission was maybe this long, and then the engine sitting in front of us. So you can imagine with the little small block sitting there, imagine this a front engine dragster, and you have a bell housing, and then the 727 with a short section of the tail, and then you're sitting with your jewels over this area of the rear differentials. That's what this was used for, and this is made by Mickey Thompson. Bring it around. Mickey Thompson. And I have never, kind of embarrassed because it looks so bad. It's dirty and oxidized, but that's what happens to magnesium, kind of like aluminum. Just magnesium oxidizes to it oxidizes to a duller gray finish than aluminum generally does. And I was going to have this vapor honed so it would look like new, but I'm not sure if that's the correct way to go with this. You know, obviously I'm not going to put it in any car that I have. There's no plans for it. It's just a cool, I don't know, I don't even know what you call it. It's just a piece of automotive history, really. And Mickey Thompson was the king of speed, first man to 400 miles an hour on land. So to have something, you know, with his logo on it, magnesium, it's just pretty wild to have. So I thought I would share it. Wasn't sure that I wanted to at first, but then I thought, you know, it's still cool, even though it doesn't really have anything to do with the Dart or the small block or that project at all. It's still pretty cool, and as a Mopar part, makes it even cooler. Mopars are kind of a redheaded stepchild of the automotive market. You know, GM and Ford, there's a lot more parts for those makes than Mopars. And I do know that, you know, they use the old 9.2 inch Buick Olds Pontiac rear ends. They basically did the same thing with those. And I have seen one of those in magnesium by Mickey Thompson, but I'd never seen an 8 3/4 for an 8 3/4 Mopar by Mickey Thompson ever. And this center section believe it or not, it only weighs 13 pounds, which is, if you've ever picked up an iron 8 3/4 center section, you know it's well over 13 pounds. I thought I had an empty case. I have an empty case somewhere around here, a 741, and I was going to weigh it for comparison for this video, but I'm cleaning the shop and building this storage area up top. I just didn't have time to get a comparison weight, so I do know that this one weighs 13 pounds, and that's extremely light. I would say an iron case would probably be in the upper 30 pound or 40 pound weight, empty with no guts in it. So this one might weigh 40 pounds total with guts in it put together. And you know, an iron with a spool and a gear and everything in it loaded, you know, it's going to be 70 some pounds easy. So quite a substantial weight saving, but it's just a cool part. Mickey was murdered, I think, in 1988, so I was 12, and I don't recall that, you know, happening or being in the news or anything like that. But he still was the king of speed, and his name still in the off-road industry and even, well, the automotive industry period. His name is still very prevalent in that, in the aftermarket, and this is just one of the items that goes back to his beginning, you know, when he was the king of speed, before his untimely death in 1988. So I figured I'd just share that with you guys, and if you're into old obscure parts, again, give our channel a like and subscribe, and share this with your friends, your buddies, or you know, if you have any obscure parts, like, you know, Donovan stuff, Mickey Thompson stuff, early Krager stuff, or any of that obscure parts, leave a comment in the comments section, and maybe we can do some more videos with other obscurities that we come across, or that may or may not end up in this shop. I never thought this one would be here. I never thought that I would own one, but here it is. So things happen, and you know, unicorns lose their horns, hens lose their teeth, and sometimes they'll end up in your shop, sometimes they end up in mine. And we're gonna end this video here, and like I said, if you have obscure parts, leave a comment in the comment section, and maybe we'll have another video of just, you know, obscure parts, or you know, things that are out of the ordinary, not belly button parts, things that anybody can whip out their phone or get on their computer or call Jags or Summit or whoever, and just, if you've got a credit card, you can buy it. That is not the case with these parts, and hopefully some people comment and show us what they have, or and that'll give us some more topics to talk about in the future. So again, like and subscribe, and share this with your friends, your hot rodding buddies, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks.